Okay, let's take a look at lecture test 2. We're going to look at chapter 3 today, and we're going to start with the biology chapter, cell theory. So when we're talking about cell theory, there's really just a few bullet points here that you need to know about. One thing about it is the cell is the smallest unit of life. So that's what the cell theory says. The cell is the smallest unit of life. It's the smallest thing you can have according to the levels of organization that you see over here. Let me change that just a little bit. So according to the levels of organization that you see over here, the atom is not alive, the molecule or compound is not alive, the organelle is not alive. However, the cell is. So everything beyond cell and beyond is considered a living thing. All organisms are made of one cell or more than one cell. So while you and I, we're made up of more than one cell, there are things that exist that are only one cell and they're considered alive. And that would be stuff like bacteria, protozoa, things like that. You're going to learn about that when you go into the microbiology class where they talk about single-celled organisms. And so that's where that's going to be. But for this class, we're going to stick with more than one cell because we're going to stick with humans. Cells come from other cells. Now, they come from other cells in two ways. One way is you've got somatic cells using the form of mitosis to create more somatic cells. So first of all, let's kind of talk about what is a somatic cell. A somatic cell is any cell in the body except sperm and egg cells. So it's a liver cell, it's a skin cell, it's a blood cell, any cell in the body except a sperm cell or an egg cell. Those would be considered somatic cells. Keep in mind, soma means body. Now, in order to get new somatic cells, in order to get new liver cells, new skin cells, new blood cells, they're going to use the process known as mitosis to form new cells. So as your skin cells die off, you want those to be replaced. So mitosis is a process by which you start out with one cell, it goes through a process of mitosis, and you get two genetically identical cells from that. So if you lose a skin cell, you can get two genetically identical skin cells from that. Hopefully you all remember talking about mitosis in lab when you talked about the cell cycle, because that was part of the cell cycle. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, that was the cell cycle. That was part of it anyway. And again, from that, you're going to get two genetically identical cells. Now, with respect to the gametes, the sperm and egg cells, they're going to go through a process known as meiosis or meiosis, however you want to pronounce that. From these, you get 4 not genetically identical cells. So from a sperm cell or an egg cell, they end up having the end result of that after they go through meiosis and you get your sperm and your egg cell, they have half the number of chromosomes. So they're not genetically identical to what you started with, and you have 4 sperm and egg cells from a stem cell rather than what you get from mitosis. So just a sample question. We are looking at the in-class questions out of your packet that you bought from the bookstore. So that's where this question is going to be located. So make sure you have that available as we move through chapter 3. I'll give you a second to take a look at that. The answer would be D. Cells contain other organelles such as a nucleus and mitochondria. And while that is true for humans, that's not true for all cells. For example, bacteria cells don't contain a nucleus and a mitochondria. They don't have those organelles like that. They have the material. They're just not organelles. So D would be the correct answer for that. I just thought this was a pretty cool picture. This is actually of a plant, but could you imagine being in the lab at night and looking through the microscope and seeing these little things looking back at you? That's kind of scary. Actually, it's not really scary. But it is kind of cool to look at when you see that through the microscope. Okay, so we will pick up with objective 2 next.